Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video here on the channel. And in this video, we are starting off a new kind of like sub-series where I'm going to be uploading 25 build videos, including this one. And in these 25 build videos, these are 5 builds per position. So obviously we have the 5 centers, 5 power forwards, 5 small forwards, 5 shooting guards, and 5 point guards. We're going to go practically in that order from center all the way down to point guard, because I just wanted to start off with the centers first, and I was already making builds for some of these players, and I kind of like wanted to work on these players more, just to get like an idea of how I could possibly make this series and what I wanted to do with this series. So anyway, just to give like a little bit of a heads up on what this series is, we are going in and we are practically making builds based around LeBron James. Now, if you guys have seen my video before where we have specifically talked about the Bron squad no money spent shenanigans, that's practically what this is. This is going to be kind of similar to where I'm going to be making builds that are based on teammates of LeBron James. So LeBron James has had a lot of teammates throughout his career. And of course, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be making 5 builds per position. So I'm just going to go through his teammates list and seeing, okay, well, I know this person, practically just going based on positioning here as well, because it's like for an example, Chris Bosh is not going to be part of the centers just because he's a power forward. And I know that he has played center more throughout his career than he has played power forward. But the thing is, when making these builds, his builds, obviously here he is a power forward, and also in the builder with the templates, his template is also a power forward. So it's like somebody like Chris Bosh will not be in the centers; he'll be in the power forwards. And then it's like we have Zydrunas Ilgauskas, which is obviously this particular video here is what we are starting with. But practically I'm just going to go through his teammates list. If you guys don't know, there is proballers.com that has practically all these players, and they have a list of all their teammates, how many games they've played with these teammates and everything. So it's just one of those that you can go to and be like, okay, you can look through their list of all their teammates, and this is the list that we have used as well to choose out our players that we would be playing as when doing this grind. And we're going to be doing the same thing with Vince Carter in 2K25, so be prepared to see kind of like a sub-series like this as well in 2K25. So that's going to be really, really fun. But it's like Zydrunas Ilgauskas has obviously been somebody that LeBron has played, actually has significantly played the most games with, because not only did he play like a season in Miami, which was his last, Zydrunas has only played 1 season in Miami. His final season in the league was with Miami, but obviously other than that, he just played in Cleveland. So all those years in Cleveland, he has played with LeBron. And then obviously this season here where he was in Miami, he played with LeBron as well. So it's one of those situations where it's like, that actually adds up and makes a lot of sense as to why he has the most games played with LeBron. But then obviously you have like other bigs that have like a lot of games played, like Anderson Varejao. You have Tristan Thompson. Let's see, Anthony Davis, Udonis Haslem. So yeah, it's just one of those things where he's had like a lot of like actual like bigs, and like also Channing Frye. I think he's a power forward though. Dwight Howard. Yeah, just like a ton of like different bigs. Ben Wallace even. So yeah, I mean, obviously then you have to mention Shaq, even though it was like 1 season in Cleveland, not even in Miami, but 1 season in Cleveland, where they played together. So it's just one of those things where I'm just going to be going through the list and, practically just picking and choosing 5 bigs. And then obviously, like, if I find out that person is like, you can only get them from like a power forward position or a different position than what they originally are, then I will just move them over probably if there is like a spot on the other positions available. So it's like for Chris Bosh, obviously, like I said, it's like Chris Bosh, he's played a significant amount of games with LeBron, but he's a power forward in 2K and mostly available as a power forward and not really more of a center, which is weird to me because you can play him as a center build. And when we get to the power forwards and get to his particular build in the power forwards, then I will explain why that is. So it's like he'll be a power forward. I'll throw him in the power forward list. But it's like somebody like, Anthony Davis, who is like, very well known as like a power forward and a center, but a lot of the times he has played power forward and he has been playing center. So it's just one of those situations where you can kind of pick and choose, but obviously it just comes down to like these videos being based around their actual position that they are available in. So it's like Ilgauskas, he's obviously a center, so it just makes a lot of sense. But then Chris Bosh, he has played center throughout his career more than power forward, but his templates and his shades of comparisons are practically only available in power forward. So that's just how we are choosing it. And just like Anthony Davis, like I mentioned, he's played power forward throughout his career a lot of times as well as center. But for the most part, his template is a center and his shades of is going to be a center as well for that particular reason. So anyway, that's what we are going for, and I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of an explanation here at the beginning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to the builder just to show you guys my Zydrunas Ilgauskas build, and then I'm going to be working on the other builds, obviously off camera, and then I'll be recording those videos as well. So anyway, let's go ahead, let's head over to the builder so I can show you guys the Zydrunas Ilgauskas build. That's the official and Snoops approved Ilgauskas build. And keep in mind that the way that I make the builds is, very, very specific in how I get the stats for those builds and everything. So I'll explain that more when we actually get into the builder. So let's go ahead and head on over there. All right, we have Zydrunas Ilgauskas, the build here. And as you can see, the center 7'3", 238, and 7'11 wingspan, 7'11. But this is the build here, and I'm going to explain a little bit of my thought process and how I managed to get to these stats. So I do have a Google Sheets page that practically has slots for multiple builds and templates, if the templates are available, for me to like write down the stats for everything here. So everything that you see here, I have stats written down for. So for an example though, there's one version of him in the roster that I have made stats for and written down. And then there obviously was like at least one all-time version as well. And then I have a third. So these are all versions of him in the roster that I have made stats for. So necessarily what happens here is I just take the stats from all the builds, including the templates and the rosters. So I just take a look at all of them and be like, okay, I'm going to see what happens if I just try to collab and create like something that's kind of like a median in between all three of these builds. And then sometimes when I do that, or if I try making one of the builds just straight up, just depending on if they're like a current player or they don't have like a lot of versions of them in the game, so then I just recreate one of their, like the one or two builds that they have stat for stat and just see what I can come up with if I can. And then just when I'm at that point where I don't have any more attributes, then I just rework everything to try and make it as close as possible, just so I can get the shades of comparison. So with this version of him, this build, it's kind of like a median in between all three. Obviously there are some differences in, amongst the stats here that are also different from his builds in the roster, but that's also because we kind of like, especially like the ball handling is a little bit different just because post control also controls ball handling and you increase it. So it's like you have to have a 42 ball handling if you want a 92 post control. So there you have it. It's just one of those things where it's like some stats will increase because they're connected with other stats, Meanwhile, in the actual roster list, you have more freedom to just make everything very, very specific. But here we have an 86 close shot, which is pretty much the highest that is available, which was in one of his builds, because obviously he had the other two builds that had a 79 and an 82. Then obviously the other, like all three builds kind of had a very similar driving layup and driving dunk. They were all like practically 60. Besides like the all-time version, I believe this is the all-time version that has the 65 driving dunk. And then they all had an 85 standing dunk. And the only reason why I have a higher stat line here is just because of all the other stats that we have here, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But we have the 90 standing dunk, which is really good, gives us gold rise up, gold precision dunker, which is really, really good. And also, since we're not as great of a shooter, or like even like as great of a mid-range shooter as we would kind of like and hope for, we can at least score a little bit more on the inside with that 90 standing dunk. Now, we're not going to be able to get, you know, the insane, you know, elite big man dunks or anything like that, because we don't even get a 75 vertical, even if I did max it out here. As you can see, it's only at a 68, but if I was to even try to max out this vertical, it wouldn't even go to a 75. I think it's like a 73 or 74, so it's kind of unfortunate in that regard. So it's crazy. It's a little crazy that we can't get those elite big man dunks, even though we have the 90 standing dunk, but we're going to be able to still get some pretty crazy dunks, even with precision dunker and rise up available. So that's kind of like the main thing there. The 92 post control, obviously, two of his builds have had the 92 post control as well, so it just made a little bit more sense having that. And also because that gives you that gold unpluckable, making it to where you're able to actually be a little bit more effective in the post without getting ripped tremendously. So there you have it. Plus also it's like the 90 plus, it's just very, very strong because the 90 does give you that post spin technician, and just going up to the 92 gives you that gold unpluckable, which I feel like is just pretty strong there. It's a really, really good break point to have. Now, in terms of the shooting, obviously all three of his builds that I have written down and all those stats for those builds were significantly better mid-range shooting stats. And the reason why is just because, like I mentioned before, you have free reign over the stats there. You can have everything at a 99 and then be 5'7", or you can have everything as a 99 and then be 7'3". It's just one of those situations where you just kind of have free reign in the roster versus, you know, here in the builder where you are kind of limited, which makes a lot of sense to be limited here. So you're just not having 99 everything like you were able to in like 14. I believe 14 was the last one you were able to do that in, or was it 15? I don't remember at all, but I just remember one of those being the last ones where you could get 99 on everything. So the 80 mid-range, which is, you know, significantly lower than what I was hoping that we were able to get on this build. But fortunately for us, that also means that we were able to utilize our attributes elsewhere. Just to, like, especially like I mentioned, the standing dunk, we're able to utilize that a little bit more since we don't have as high of a mid-range. But we still have a pretty good mid-range with an 80, which is obviously, like I said, pretty fucking solid still. But we just don't have like an 82 for that gold catch and shoot with the mid-range. Not like we can get blinders on silver, not like we can get dead eye on silver or anything else like that. Or even, you know, get midi magician on gold. So nothing too crazy there. But we also have 2 extra points into our 3-point rating as well, giving us Claymore on silver, which gives us that little bit more of a boost on that 3-point shot. Still not to the point where it's going to give us an insane increase in our shot percentage, but still having Claymore does indeed give us a little bit of a boost on that 3-point shot. And we're not going to be insane with shooting on this build, but we're still able to actually shoot. So if you have a jump shot, that is actually pretty good. And this is one of those situations where you like with the way that we did these builds in this grind, where if you're making a player, you have to use every single animation for that player. But the thing is, it's like if you have somebody that, you know, doesn't have like any animations, and you just kind of have free reign. But the thing that we did is it's like we just kind of made it to where it's like, okay, you have to make a jump shot that's similar to that player's jump shot if they don't have a jump shot. So it's like Shane Battier, you have to have like a shot that's pretty similar to Shane Battier's shot. Same with Kostas. We had Kostas in, the other day on stream. That was like a lot of fun. Somebody was like, hey, I have this particular build. Give me some ideas on who this could possibly be, because it's a build that they already had before joining the squad and joining the grind, and they just happen to have it. And we just said, you know what? It looks like, and I made the call being like, this could be Kostas. He hasn't, put in significant amount of minutes, but he has obviously played with LeBron, and it's like, who knows what the ceiling was for Kostas if he actually had like the time to develop and everything. So that's kind of unfortunate, but to me, it just felt kind of right, because Kostas, I do believe, is 6'10", and the build was also 6'10". So I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Just say that it is Kostas Antetokounmpo. Like, just literally just say that it's Kostas, because Kostas is 6'10". And it was like a power forward or something like that. Or no, it was like a small forward, is 6'10" small forward, and Kostas is listed as a power forward, small forward, if I remember. So it's just one of those things where it just kind of made sense. So we just said, fuck it, just call him Kostas. That's awesome. And then he's using Kostas base with the Giannis upper release, I believe. Just because obviously, or not Kostas base, but Thanasis base with a Giannis upper release or something like that. Not 100% sure, but just because Kostas doesn't have a jump shot, we told him, hey, make these. Like make a jump shot with like Thanasis and or Giannis or something like that. And then I just said, hey, why not use Thanasis base? Because I looked at the base, I'm like, yeah, Thanasis base has like a better kind of looking base than Giannis, in my personal opinion. So obviously he just used Thanasis base and was absolutely killing it still. But yeah, it's like it's pretty crazy though. So obviously try to make a good jump shot for Ilgauskas, and if you can get that shot down, you'd still be able to shoot consistently. 80 free throw, it's just whatever. It's a free throw rating. No playmaking upgrades really at all besides the ball handling because of post control, and then the 2 extra points in speed with ball, just because we had those extra points available. Because he does only have a 35 pass accuracy and ball handling on like all 3 of his versions in the roster, and then a 25 speed with ball in all 3 versions of the roster as well. Now here for defense, though, we have an interior defense of an 83 because 2 of his versions here has, we have an 82 interior defense, but he's got an 83 on 2 versions of him. And there was no point in having the 83 when we can just have, the same badges and everything at 82 rating here. Because obviously if I go down to an 81, we obviously need that 82 for both workhorse and post lockdown, and we get like kind of like nothing for reaching an 83. So I just felt like just bringing it down by 1 point, just have that extra point available, just made a lot of sense. And also here, we put like a lot of the extra points here into perimeter defense, because why not? We could have also done that as well. It just doesn't really matter. But the perimeter defense being a 32, even though he only has like a 25 perimeter defense in all 3 versions. But as you can see, because we have an 82 interior, the perimeter defense also increased to a 32, which, kind of makes a little bit of sense there. But at the same time, we're just going to keep it as low as we can here. So we have the 32 perimeter defense. And then with the steal rating being a 59, 2 of his builds also have the 59 steal rating. And it's unfortunate that we're not able to get to a 60, because you would have to increase his wingspan a little bit more, which is possible for you to do. And you can still get you can still obviously get the shades of, even with having that increased wingspan. But the only problem is, it's like with increasing a wingspan, then you'll have like an under an 80 mid-range, and I think you would have like a 78 mid-range at that point by the time that you have the increased wingspan, because I think you need like an 8'1 wingspan in order to get the 60 steal here. But then again, it's like you would lose like significant amount of attributes for mid-range because it'll drop down to a 78. So it's just one of those situations where it doesn't really matter if you want to, cool. If you don't give a shit about the mid-range that much and you're just going to be more of like a spot up threat anyway from the 3, then whatever. Because it's like your 3 isn't going to drop, your mid-range will drop, everything else is probably going to like actually is going to be the same except for your strength as well. Your strength is going to drop. So that's also another thing to pay attention to. If you don't really give a shit about the strength, then whatever. But that 60 steal is just kind of unfortunate. It's in an unfortunate like circumstance where it's like you kind of need to increase your weight a little bit as well to make up for the strength if you are going to do that. And if you don't care about the mid-range being dropped, then it's just one of those situations where it's like, okay, cool, just increase your weight. You're probably going to lose some speed and acceleration as well for doing that just to get your strength back. But then at the time, it's going to be awesome because then you get that interceptor. It's just one of those things where it's like if you really care too much about it, then cool. But interceptor is the only badge you're going to get, so it's just whatever. But I have it at 59 just because you're able to get the 59 there, and he has it that rating on multiple versions of him. Here we have an 87 block rating, even though one of his builds has an 85, then another one has a 75, and then another one has an 82. So he's got different ratings here, but I went with the 87 because that does give him anchor on silver. If he's not going to be like insane on perimeter defense or anything like that, at least make it to where he's going to be pretty damn good on the interior. So making it to where he's still going to be able to get a good amount of blocks, still going to be able to defend the paint efficiently, even with him being a little bit slower. So him being on the slower side means that he's going to have to be good at something. And that one thing that he's good at is just being on the interior. Like whether he's doing a standing dunk, whether he's in the post up, whether he's on defense, he's going to be good in the interior. So here we gave him the 87 block rating so he can get that silver anchor. And that's practically the main reason why we have it this high. Otherwise, we would just have it, you know, drop down to like a 78 or something like that. I don't know. Or the 77 is what's needed. The 77. So we have anchor there, which is pretty solid. We have an 81 offensive rebound, which, you know, his builds have kind of like a weird rebound numbers and everything like that. So he's got an 88 offensive rebound on one of them, an 84 on another, and then 74 on another. And then for defensive rebound, he's got an 88 on, you know, the one that has the 88 offensive rebound. But then on the next one, he's got a 76. And then the one after that, he's got a 68. Absolutely fucking bonkers crazy if you ask me, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But we do have the 92 defensive rebound just because it's like, okay, like I mentioned before, he's going to have to be good at something. So we gave him the 92 defensive rebound to get that gold rebound chaser. So he's able to get more rebounds. Speed and acceleration are also maxed out just because we were able to, with the way that our stats are and with all the break points that we have, we just kind of had points left over. So we were able to get the speed and acceleration increased as much as possible. So we have them maxed out. The strength originally called for like a 91 or like an 80 plus, like higher than an 80. But with this build, we can only get an 80, which is fine, which is perfectly fine because we reached that 79 threshold at least to be able to get that back down Punisher on silver. But it's not like we get immovable enforcer. It's not like we get like gold back down Punisher. It's not like we get silver brick wall or gold box out beast. It's unfortunate for what it is, but you know, we're still able to be pretty effective still on the defensive end, and we're still going to be effective from the offensive end as well because we do have the standing dunk, we do have the post control still regardless, and then we also have that ability to be a spot up threat. In the 68 vertical, all three builds called for a 60, but I made it to a 68 just so we can get that pogo stick. And then also having the 67 also gives you that aerial wizard on silver and rise up on gold. So it just made a lot of sense there. Then having the stamina maxed out when, you know, it kind of makes sense to just max it out because it doesn't require a lot of attribute potential. So yeah, might as well do that. But as you will see here from this version, we do get the all-time Cleveland Cavaliers, the Zydrunas Ilgauskas shades of. You got Yusuf Nurkic and Brook Lopez as well on this list. But I feel like this was a really, really good, draft for this build. Inside the arc threat, so no two-way name or anything like that, but inside the arc threat, we can still, stretch the floor out a little bit, especially like Lopez, because Lopez obviously splash mountain. But we are pretty good at the defensive end. We're pretty good on the interior. We're more of like a mid-range shooter than we are like a three-point shooter, but we can still stretch the floor out to the three as long as we have a jump shot that's effective. And I know like a lot of people sit there and be like, but Snoops, like, why not have a, like at least a ball handle just so, or like not a ball handle, but a pass accuracy for you to be able to, throw down full court passes off of rebounds. That's the thing. If you're smart enough and you're able to grab rebounds, you will know that it's not necessary to grab boards and then chuck them down like as effectively. As long as you can just get the ball down the court, that's really, really good enough. But yeah, as long as you have like a team around you that knows how to utilize this particular build to its fullest potential, then it's pretty solid. But let me know what you guys think of this build in the comment section below. The next build video obviously is going to be like another center. I don't know which one it's going to be. There's 2-3 different options that we have right now that I have on the list. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy. If you guys want to see any specific particular players to make builds of or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below, and then I'll try to get that uploaded in between these particular videos. So let me know if you guys want to see anything specific. And yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. Hope that you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later, everybody.